Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. We have another British journalist who has essentially voiced the opinions of the people and said what we have all been thinking about Meghan and Harry, especially Harry. This video is going to focus on Harry, and she's basically titled the article she's written for The Express, which is one of the publications that Meghan and Harry do not like. And she basically said a few days ago, oh Harry, look what you have thrown away. And I think that we all can feel that sentiment. He's thrown away his heritage, he's thrown away his culture, even though Harry was never destined to sit on the throne except in a tragic circumstance. It still was a part of him, an intrinsic part of him. We all watched him grow up. We loved his mum. Everybody loved Diana. And she left a profound, lasting, beautiful legacy on this planet, which is celebrated globally. Harry has thrown a lot of things away, and he's really cast shame on the royal family and what it is to be a royal in general. He's definitely diminished their importance in everyday life, but they are definitely thriving without Meghan and Harry, and Harry is now making himself look like a pillock out in LA. As I've said in previous videos, clout chasing. But it was really interesting to pick this up. So I liked her commentary. I liked the way in which she penned this open letter to him, and I found it quite entertaining. So I'm going to go through some of the points that she raised. So she starts off by saying, you think you're suffering in lockdown. Spare a thought for a young couple with a 1-year-old child. They only have an $18 million mansion to shelter in, and worse still, what with restrictions on current travel, they are not able to use the private jet with which their host whisks them from Canada to an area of prime Californian real estate. Yup, Harry and Meghan are back in the news. So this was written May 14th, and she carries on to say, not that the publicity shy couple were ever out of it. Of course, there has been a double whammy in the past couple of days. The first is that Meghan wants the book about their new life, with which they cooperated, to be brought forward so everyone can see she is not a control freak diva but a darling. And we know they have this pretentious Finding Freedom titled book coming out, which Meghan has leaked to various sources, various media outlets, even though she said she doesn't want to communicate with them and she has a right to privacy, blah, 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 blah. She's saying that she believes that the book will clear her name of being a diva and all the rest of it. It won't. We know it won't. We've all seen the truth. We've all seen the controlling of Harry, the stepping in front of Harry, the breaking of royal protocol, and the list goes on, so it won't. And she carries on to say, brackets, for anyone who is not entirely convinced of that, there's also an alternative book in the pipeline about the two of them by Lady Colin Campbell, who broke the real story about the marriage of Harry's parents well before Diana, her true story, came out. So we have this book by Lady Colin Campbell, which I definitely will be picking up, and it is meant to be getting released on the same day, or at least the same week as Finding Freedom does. So it's going to be really interesting to see the paradox between Meghan's, what do they call her? She's allegedly narcissistic. So between Meghan's tale of what actually went down in Windsor and Lady Colin Campbell's version of what really went down. I think there definitely will be more truth in Lady Colin Campbell's book. So it carries on to say, and the second is that well-placed sources report that Harry is feeling rudderless with no structure to his life. I saw this pop up. I do believe it to be true. I haven't covered it yet on the channel, but I do think that Harry feels a sense of displacement, and why wouldn't he? This is someone who has had privilege all of their life, has been in front of the camera all of their life, but had privilege, had a structure, had commitments, was enlisted to the military. He had things going on. He doesn't have the royal customs anymore. He doesn't have the burden of having to do the charity work that William and Kate are picking picking up the slack for. He doesn't have the burden to be behind them, starting initiatives in the UK, being in a certain place at a certain time. He is essentially a free agent, but this wouldn't feel good for Harry, I don't think. If you've had such regime and culture and tradition from a very young age, I don't think that this would be a good place for him to be. He's now in the world of freelancing Hollywood. Anything could happen at any time, and maybe nothing will happen. Nothing could happen at any time, to the point where the phone could stop calling. People could lose interest in him. It's not like he has a specific talent that he's going to be exercising upon. Well, we don't know. So she carries on to say, this is less than a month after Dame Jane Goodall, a friend of the couple, saying that Harry was finding life post-royal challenging. And that was put in speech marks, challenging. I do think Harry is finding it challenging. Like I said, what real purpose does he serve in LA amongst these extremely talented individuals? What real purpose does he have amongst these people? How is he going to fight for his place in the Hollywood Star Walk, so to speak? How's he going to do it? We don't know. She said here, is it any wonder this comes straight after senior members of the royal family, including the Queen, Prince Charles and the Cambridges, released a video thanking nurses across the world? I think there's definitely a lot of jealousy there. I think that they thought that their significance and their publicity and the media storm and the soap opera drama that they brought to our royal family was a positive thing, that they needed them. They don't need them. And I think they felt really redundant. So she carries on to say, this is what the royal family is supposed to do, voice the sentiments of the nation while providing reassuring evidence of continuity by virtue of the fact that they're still there. They speak for us. Harry and Meghan do not, and we know they don't. They're not even here, so how can they speak for us? Of course they can't. Then she carries on to say, the Queen, telling us that we will meet again and that Britain's streets are not empty but full of love, showed us that she is still entirely in touch with the nation. She has served for so long, far more than a self-centered couple mouthing vacuous platitudes from across the pond. Meghan can say what she wants through the pages of the new book, but it's actions, not words, that provide the full measure of a person, and that is true. It's your actions. You can write a book talking about how you've been hard done by, how the British media are a bunch of bigots and racists, etc. You can really write that. We can all write what we want, and we can essentially say what we want. There is freedom of speech. Everyone is entitled to their opinion, but your actions are really the defining measures by which will leave a lasting impression on everyone. What has she done? She's writing a book. She's sitting in Tyler Perry's mansion in LA. She's flown around on private jets last year. She really did go to Africa physically, stand in front of those children and complain about her life. These are all the things that she's done. She can say what she wants in this book, but that's not going to wash that away. We've seen her standing in front of Harry. We've seen the weird advertising of this baby bump, the moaning of the duties, suing the Associated Press, insisting that the case go ahead, despite the fact that we're in a worldwide pandemic. Making it all about her. We've seen the lack of generosity with their charity donation, which was actually done on behalf of them by the BBC for the streaming of their wedding. It was £90,000, not from their direct purse, but from, essentially, we paid for it. It came from our views of their wedding. So these are your actions, Meghan. How can you explain that away? It's going to be extremely difficult for her to just write it away in a book. When we're going to read it, I'm sure a lot of people are going to read it, whether you like Meghan or not. You probably will check in, read the book, and you're still going to be unmoved because she's in Tyler Perry's house with 12 bedrooms, I think 15 bathrooms, whatever the number is, with a young child who can barely walk, let alone talk, with Harry during a worldwide pandemic. Think about that. Let that sink in. So she carries on to say, and with every day that passes, this becomes more of a tragedy for poor Harry, stuck in the middle of the most narcissistic place on the planet, away from family, friends, and the armed services he so loved. It is nonsense that this couple were driven from these shores by racism towards Meghan. A lot of us were delighted to see a biracial American divorcee marrying into an 1,000-year-old monarchy. Now they've thrown it all away. And for what? And that is true. And for what? It's beggars belief, really. So I really enjoyed this article. I think that she really did summarize what we all think and feel about Meghan. It's a lot of whining, complaining, word salads about next to nothing. You are two very extremely privileged people, and a lot of people, whether they like it or not, the truth of the matter is that when Meghan married Harry, I think she had at least I think it was about £2 million, British pounds, to be honest. I think that was her true net worth. She had about £2 million to her name. She was essentially a millionaire. Most people in their life will not ever be a millionaire. So she had achieved that. I'll give her credit for that. So she goes from being in the top 1% to the top 0.001% with Harry, who's worth a couple of million and whatnot, with family, inheritance, and all the rest of it, from Diana's estate, from Charles being a product of essential privilege. They moan. They go to Africa and they moan and they moan. You don't have room to moan when you are at that level, especially letting the public know. It's one thing to be a millionaire, smashing up your toys in your £10 million house behind closed doors, when the camera's off, when the phone's off, when no one's recording you, when the publicist isn't there. But to do it on centre stage, in public, for everyone to see, how embarrassing. How it's just beggars belief. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Love this article. I'm definitely going to be looking out for more columns by Virginia Blackburn. She done a fabulous job on this one. But yeah, that's it for now. I'll be back with another video. Bye, guys.